Okay, welcome to Dishing the Dirt from the couches. Tonight we have got an exclusive interview with Hutt Park Racing. So welcome onto the show. We have Ethan Levien, Alan Levien and Keegan Levien. So welcome to the show, guys. Thanks for being here.
Well, thank you for inviting us.
So we're going to have a good old chat about what these guys have been up to and what they've got coming up. So let's get into it. Okay, so let's get the first topic out of the way. Keegan, you took out a couple of awards at the New Zealand Speedway Awards. So it was Competitor of the Year and Superstock Competitor of the Year. So obviously a little bit of a bummer we didn't get to have the proper gala evening and go to the awards.
Yeah, no, it was pretty cool, eh? I mean, since it was all done on social media, it didn't have the hype that it should have been. But I was pretty happy. I had a pretty good year, and I wasn't expecting it, but I did have a fair idea of going off everyone else's results that I could have been in for a good run. And yeah, no, it would have been cool just to have the awards and enjoy the night, but it is what it is.
That's the one. And I know shit like we haven't been to the awards, but I assume it's not just about, because I assume speeches and things like that aren't the fun part. It's to be getting together with your peers and having a pretty good night and talking about all your triumphs and stuff for the season. Speaking of those triumphs this season, you guys had a pretty successful season with a win in the Grand Prix, success in the 240s. 248?
Yeah,
what's 248?
Well, if you go back over the years, 240s used to be the cubic inch capacity that the Superstocks could run in, and then they changed that a few years ago to 248, which makes it a 4-litre engine rather than a 240 cubic engine. And so the rights of, there was an event for the 240s, which the English came and the Aussies used to come out for.
From Asher Rees, and now Frankie Wayman gets him. It's a hit from Asher Rees.
And then that was changed, I can't remember how long ago, to the 248. So when the 240s was taken to Rotorua, Palmerston North decided to invent their own, so they invented the 248s, which is trying to get on the same formula as what the 248s has, or should I say the 240s, but it just hasn't reached the hype that you could say the initial 240s had.
It's the track that makes it though.
Okay, so we're pretty new. We're known as kind of the mods guys. We're looking into mods in Garage 16 this year with Dishing the Dirt. We wanted to expand a little bit and learn a little bit more about other classes and things like that. So you guys obviously involved in the stocks and the super stocks and stuff, but where did it all begin for Hutt Park Racing?
There.
So were you a racer yourself?
Yeah. I still, like, just tries to be. Last season was probably one of the first seasons I bought a license, but I never actually got on the track. I would have hoped to got on the track later in the season, but I'll buy another one this season and race. I've probably been doing it for nearly 30 years now. But yeah, I suppose it all began when I first moved to Wellington. I'd already been to a few Speedway meetings with a mate of mine that actually used to race modifieds out of Greymouth, Shane Smith, and then I came up here and I sort of, I had another really good friend of mine, Tony Burkett, Bones, and he convinced me with an ACC pile of money that I had to go and buy my first stock car. So we wandered off over to Porirua to buy this McPhee flat chassis that Winky had, Daryl Stevens, and it came with the number 46 on it, so that's how we inherited our number, and we took it home, and I knew absolutely nothing about Speedway, didn't really have any money left after I'd bought this thing for, I can't remember if it was $4 or $5 grand. And borrowed a trailer and put it behind my mate's Super Minx and lived over Whitemans Valley, and we took it to the track and completely destroyed it. I suppose because I knew absolutely nothing. I was an apprentice diesel mechanic at the time, and we just started from there just by racing. It wasn't Hutt Park Racing back then. It was just me and a race car with a few holiday parks painted on the side of it, because that's where our sponsors came from through my parents and stuff. And and then that car over a period of time, it sort of vanished. Some kids came along, still went to Speedway, still involved, and then I was going to say that car just literally got thrown away in the finish, and it's just a bit of a shame because I'd love to have that now. It'd be a really good golden oldie, you know. And then the year about 95, 96, New Zealand Superstocks in Wellington, I went off and bought my own car, and I had that for the New Zealands. Before that I'd shared a car with a mate and bits and pieces and things like that. So and then we raced that car, and then we ended up at the holiday park. Couldn't afford to race, so I cut the back bumper off it and put it in the shed. And then passion was still there, still going to the track, still going to meetings around the country. And then a mate of mine went halves in an early Tony Mac chassis which belonged to Eddie Hawkins, which another mate of mine that Wayne Richards had. And so we went halves, and it cost us $25 each, and bought this pretty much bare chassis. And over a period of, I don't know, 12, 18 months, I bought parts, put it together, and got it back out there, and started racing. And because the holiday park is based in the Hutt Park area, or used to be known as the Hutt Park Top 10, they just sort of, the comment of Hutt Park Racing started coming up, and then took a van in to get sign written, and next thing the guy's got Hutt Park Racing down the side of it, and HPR just has stuck from there. So it's actually quite cool. That's probably 17 or 18 years ago now. So we still got a similar logo. It's been played with by a few people, but it's still very much to a similar logo that was banged on a vehicle, which was just like, yeah, a bit of a laugh to have on a work vehicle. So yeah, it's just gone from there, and I raced for a few more years, and then when he was 11 or so, I bought his first mini stock, and we went to
karting.
Oh, we did. Oh yeah, it was a bit of go-karting, but they were a bit different.
A bit of go-karting, and then Dad got sick of all the referees and all that. Just, I don't know, go-karting just has a different vibe. You know, it's a bit more serious, and so even on a club day, if there's something wrong with your kart, they'll pick on you and they won't let you race. With Speedway, is a bit more lenient, you know. So Dad got pretty sick of that pretty quickly. So.
Got this mini stock, pretty stoked, had a cadet, sold that for $4,000, and just this cart like this and a starter, and I went off to this guy's place in Palmerston North, and I bought this mini stock, $4,000 on trailer with more spares than I could fit in my ute and on the trailer. I went, wow, that's a far better deal. Took the mini stock home and waited till he turned 12 in March, and at that stage we were racing out of Wanganui. And took it up there, and my mate Moongoon and that jacked us all up for the track, and he just started cutting laps, and I just started stepping deeper into each corner and said, don't lift till you get to me, don't lift till you get to me, and
until we hit the wall.
Yeah. We just went better and better, and then so yeah, that was from there. That was that kart, and we still own that car now. One of the grandkids is racing it out of Huntley. You know, this boy's been through it as well. He hopped into it when he turned 12, and then he outgrew it. But you know, he was like doing his mentor thing up at Timaru, and Keith's like, oh yeah, drive around the car park. So he drives around the car park 3 or 4 times, and he stops. And Keith said, what'd you stop for? He says, well, I'm bored. He says, well, do some stop starts. So he does a whole heap of stop starts, hops out of the cart. What'd you stop for? Well, I'm bored with that as well. What else do you want to do? So like, I think Keith might have even made the comment, he's the fastest kid that's gone from turn up to just trainer driving to actually that same day being on the track, going around there as fast as most kids. But you know,
I guess there would have been some eagerness there because you're the younger brother, right?
Yeah.
By how much?
4 years.
I just turned 19 last week.
So, yeah, 4 years.
So there would have been back in the day potentially like you would have already been racing, and you would have been at that point where you're whooshing. I think
I had like my little mini car back there.
We used to pull our little Connect stock cars around the pits of strings.
So you know, you would have been running that opportunity over your head, watching your old man and your brother get into it. You must have just been like ready to get straight into it. There might have been a little bit of the secret sauce there, mate.
I'd probably learnt to drive when I was about 8, driving the work utes around home. And then, doing rubbish runs, stuff like that. So I already knew how to drive manuals before I was even 10. So
I don't think I could see over the steering wheel when I learned how to drive a manual.
Yeah, I think I was like 8 years old doing races in the golf carts around home. Yep. Making a little speedway track, rolling them around and destroying them.
But you know, we used to have a thing, we finished working on the car, so right, boys, get the ute. So he'd go and get in the ute, he'd put himself in there, and there's a bit of a bump into the shed, and if he stalled it, we'd all laugh at him and point and take the piss out of him. So in the finish, it was like his ultimate game each time to put the ute away was not to stall it when you drove in, because you knew you'd get laughed at. So it's
bullied.
You know, nah. Family banter, I suppose you'd call it.
Nothing wrong with that.
Probably nowadays it is bullying, but it's family banter. Family banter back in the younger days.
Yeah. It's amazing how things today are just called something different. I had to touch on the point. We obviously went and did the go-kart challenge, and Corey Small mentioned Ethan likes to hit anything that moves.
Stock cars, so you'd be like Ethan. You'd be used to a bit of biff and bash.
Oh, not as much as Ethan.
Not as much as Ethan.
He likes to hit anything that moves.
Firstly, I'm kind of assuming that's just in racing, right? You're not generally an angry sort of person, but it kind of leads me to that question about stock car racing. Stock cars are not just all about speed. There's a whole heap of tactics and all of that sort of stuff that go into it, right?
Yeah, I'd say I'm one of those ones that gets on the PlayStation, does about one lap, gets pretty bored, and then starts taking everyone else out. So after a while, yeah.
He's the angry one.
We've got some fresh new young talent doing some things that I know you haven't heard before.
1, 2, 3, listen.
He's the angry one.
Yeah.
Oh, sweet. So does that mean he becomes your runner and things like that? Like when it comes to teams champs and stuff, are you like, do you have a bit of a formula there in terms of who's going to shoot for the lead and who's going to be that blocker? How does it kind of work for you guys in the team, or is it just meeting to meeting you decide what's going on?
We just do what we're told to do by Tony Mack.
In teams, you always go out with a plan, but whether or not the plan works or goes to plan, it's 50-50, but you always go out there with a fair idea of what you're doing, and in individual we just go out there and do our own thing. If it comes out to heat 3 and I'm up there and he's not up there, I don't really have to tell him to do something, because if he wants to do something, he would just do it, so
we more than often actually have to tell him, no, you're not doing anything.
Yeah, it's more they talk me out of it.
We talk him out of it, and it's in I suppose even back in my day when I was enjoying racing, I love blocking. I love being at the back of the pack. You didn't have to spend the most amount of money to, you could say to, I suppose, piss somebody off, because you got those ones that like to go round and round and round. They'll try and get on pole for every race. They want to go and win every race. But, mate, you can start down the back, and if you do it right in a 10-lap race, they can pass you 7 or 8 times. That's 7 or 8 swings you get to have. And to deem it when you come off the track, if they're pissed off because you stopped them, then I deem that as my race won. And then at the end of the night, if you can park your car at the back of your trailer and drive it there, that is like, I won that night. I can put it on there and I can take it home, do a nut and bolt, she's ready to go for next week. You lose when it comes off on the track there and you've got like a whole week in the shed to rebuild it, because the guy that got sick of you taking him out has finally wound you off the end. But hey, you got to take the good with the bad. And I think Ethan has a little bit of the, he likes to block like I did. It's actually quite satisfying. But the difference between him and I is I could block, and I without blowing my own trumpet, I think I was pretty good at it. But the difference is these boys can drive. And I probably accredit that more to the mini stocks and coming through the years of the mini stock. But the sheer fact that, that's what it is. I wish I'd raced a mini stock, and then I wouldn't be as loud as I can make it and chuck it in the corner, scrub all my feet, speed off, and then if it goes pear-shaped, you just bounce off the concrete wall and carry on. Where these guys don't touch the concrete wall unless someone puts it in them.
Yep. So from a setup point of view with you guys, is it kind of all in? Everyone kind of plays their part, or is there the kind of mechanical person in the family and the one that looks after the?
Where's Keith?
The guy that built my car, he came on board 2-3 years ago. I don't know, 2-3 years ago. Anyway, he is the setup guru. I just race my car. Every race or every meeting he will set it up. Every race he'll make adjustments. He doesn't even tell me that he make adjustments for the fact that he thinks if he tells me I'll change my driving style, knowing that the car's different. So he tells me the car talks to him. So that's all good if that's what. But it all works
given
out.
Your results, mate, it's working pretty good.
I mean, he built the car. He knows it in and out, and he's just started within the last season actually playing with Ethan's car, as it's not really one of his cars, so he's one of those guys where he's just,
it's not mine, why should I be playing with that?
But he's just obviously really likes helping us out and all that, so they've cut the suspension up in Ethan's car in the front end and the rear ends, and redid it all and to what Keith said that would work, and made a big difference. But yeah, we could all probably set a car up and it would go around the track, but Keith, if you want the car to be perfect, he's the one to do it.
He gets the fine tuning in.
Yeah, he's the fine. We're all good if the car's going around the track all right, then we're happy. But to him, if the car's going around the track all right, but if it's not the fastest car on the track, then it's not good enough, you know. So that's the way he looks at it, which is good for us, because that, you know, makes us be better drivers, because that's what he wants for us, you know, to be the fastest car out there. So
sweet. And we know with the modifieds class, they tinker around with setups and things like that. And excuse the ignorance, I mean, you know, looking at stock cars, you know, there's more contact, but I assume there's the same sort of practices that go on, you know, spring settings and all of that sort of stuff have got to be considered, but also just holding everything together and stopping it from kind of falling apart. I assume like everything's got to be pretty well looked after. Like, you couldn't be lazy, right? Like,
no, that's probably the hardest thing about like having 4 cars and stuff is it's the hours that need to go in to keeping the cars going. You know, to finish first you must finish.
But the World 240's title, it is going to go to, wow, Keegan Levien.
You know, and at the end of the day, reliability and consistency is what you need. So it's about spending the time, and I would say probably on average, in terms of man hours, there would be just for 2 cars alone, because we define it as stupid. If we take 4 cars to the track, that's just called being stupid. It's seriously hard work, especially if it's both these guys. We've taken 4 cars to the track and had 4 different drivers, but if we've got the 2 drivers in the 4 cars, it is hard work. And so for the 2 cars alone, it's anything between 20 and 30 man hours in the shed.
I would say if we do a championship, normally we do a double duty for us. It's normally Wellington. Normally they do the Wellington Champs as a duel for us with the stock cars and supers the same night. Normally that's probably in the shed Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, just getting both cars ready. And then Keith will probably show up Friday night and we'll probably load up at 4 o'clock on 4 o'clock Saturday and go to the track.
It takes the enjoyment out of it a little bit, and generally 9 times out of 10 when you're doing double duties, they always have the classes back to back. Yep. I don't know, it just seems to me every time that we take all 4 cars to the track, it's the classes are back to back, and then if you try and get them to change it around, it's normally too late, you know. So
we haven't we haven't taken 4 cars to the track with these guys driving and actually been able to get 4 cars to finish the night. Yep. Something normally goes wrong with one of the cars, and then it just comes out too hard to finish that. Hard. So we just put that one to the corner and carry on with the other 3 cars, and it's like the boys go, whew. It's just like a sigh of relief.
Yeah, I did 9 races in one night. Yeah. I can tell you, I slept pretty well that night.
Next thing.
So obviously it's a big season coming up. So we'll talk about teams champs in a minute. What else is the big thing on the agenda for Hutt Park racing this season?
To be fair, we haven't really spoken about it, have we?
No. It's an exclusive. That's great.
The North Island Superstocks, the reruns in Auckland quite early in the season, so that's a bit of a hike. I wasn't really planning on going up there, but
do you travel quite a bit?
We do. Yeah.
About 10,000 k's a season is what. Well, in terms of, I only know that because I know how much road user I got to buy for the bus. Yep. So it's about 10,000 k's a season for the bus.
Yep.
So
and you travel with 2 vehicles. You've got the
bus takes 2.
Yeah.
So, to be perfectly honest, I've sort of going back to what COVID and what that's actually done in terms of the fact that, you know, suddenly we, like a lot of businesses in the country, you know, but us being tourism based and a holiday park, you could say that when COVID hit and then suddenly it's like a month with no income. You know, we were about 96% down for that month, and then it slowly went on, and holy hell, you know, I could say, as I say, I've been to the shed, looked at the rope and went, oh no, we'll be all right, and walked back out of the shed again, and little bits and pieces like that, and thought, shit, doom and gloom, you know, it's like we want to be able to, I like to think that we can go and defend your titles, you know, and I suppose you could say the North Islands was something that I would have loved to have done. Maybe if we'd picked that one up, that would have been, you know, the cherry on top of it, you know, or just to qualify alone for it. Then we've qualified for all the championships, you know. So I got really down in the dumps because I didn't think we'd be going to be able to afford to actually race this season. You know, at the end of the day, we have sponsors, but probably 80% of our sponsorship is actually work. Yep. You know, that's what substitutes it all, or should I say, marketing. Yeah. But look, things are fine, and I am still keen to maybe get us to the North Islands, but it's also going to come down to the timing, the dates. We've got our opening night is the Wellington Superstock Champs. Then there's some other bits and pieces. The boys are looking at another event later in November. Plus we've got Wildcat warm-up teams races, Young Guns warm-up teams races. So it's going to be, once everybody gets more of their calendars out there, we're going to have to go through. Hence the reason we didn't do the New Zealand stock cars this year. You know, a trip down south was going to be way too hard, and still do the New Zealand's 240s for the Superstock. So
I think the other thing is I'm building a new stock car as well, and it's completely different. Completely different to anything we've done before, and a lot of people have done before as well. You know, like it's a completely different motor and all that. So we kind of need. If I was in my old car, I'd quite be happily to just get a couple of meetings under my belt before I went away and did a big meeting. But since it's a new car, you kind of want to get as many meetings in as possible. You know, you don't want to go to team champs and let the team down and stuff like that. So, I mean, Lexi used to do the club nights in the stock car. I think my first night in my stock car was a teams meeting at Stratford. Okay. So, you know, that's how confident I was in the car, just to get in and go. So now it's not so confident. So, you know, you kind of, and with the Wellington Superstock Champs opening night, that'll be double duties, because that will, I'll hopefully have the new stock car going. So you kind of got to do the Wellington Superstock Champs, but then you kind of need to do laps in the new car, you know? So as much as I'm not looking forward to doing double duties, it's just, you got to do it.
Yeah, well, I mean, look, I can tell you from a spectator's point of view, you know, we absolutely love watching your guys' class, and you know, started following a little bit, and you know, the fans like it as well. You guys have got a great following, and from the fans and stuff, they know who you are, but you guys put the effort in as well. You do hampers, you do colouring competitions. I've seen the photos all over Facebook with you know, the fans being there. Obviously, some of that, you know, you've got to do your duty in terms of promoting your sport and things like that. But I guess, you know, not just all racing. I assume there's, you know, a bit of warm and fuzzies in terms of that when a kid runs up with an autograph or wanting a poster signed or something like that. It must be kind of cool, right?
Yeah, I don't know, you just sit there and like, why me? You know, why do you want my signature? Where's Richie McCaw? I want his signature, you know? But yeah, I don't know, obviously they want our signature, so we just you do the right thing, eh?
Yep.
You just do it.
Yeah.
Take a photo of them.
Well, they idolise it.
And they put it on social media and they tag you in, and it's quite cool, you know. It's quite cool, but I wouldn't want my signature personally. But
well, of course, well, that's not the way it's supposed to go. But yeah, look. So you know, that leads me into the teams champs, and after you know, Young Guns had a stellar win at Stratford last season, and it's obviously at your home track here in Wellington this year, and I will not ask what the goal is, because you know, that would be stupid. Obviously the goal is to go and win and have a damn good time. You guys race as Hutt Park Racing, but then you go into a teams thing, and obviously involves bringing other guys that you're normally racing on the track and that. So what goes into the prep for a teams champs, especially one that's going to be at your hometown? I assume it's not something that just kind of happens overnight, right?
I'll especially say as the Young Guns, I'd say we probably more race as a team all year. Like all the individual events we raced there, it wasn't individual events. The Wellington boys all year round, we raced together. We knew exactly what we wanted to do and how the team was looking to look at Stratford to bring it home, and basically for the stock cars, it's what we looked at all year.
So the preparation paid off.
We weren't worried about New Zealand's. Obviously, we weren't going to them. We didn't even really think about them at all. It was kind of like, the New Zealand's are on, should we watch the live stream sort of thing.
Yep.
And it was just teams. All we thought about for stock cars was just teams.
Yep. So much for prep wise. In the shed, it's probably a lot similar to when you're racing for yourself, but you know you're going to wreck gear, you know you're going to wreck side rails, bumpers and all that. So you're busy just making spares like that, because when you go away for a normal meeting, you're not expecting to be replacing side rails in between a race, you know. And so, I mean, last year at teams, I ripped my manifold and side rail and everything, and we replaced it, because it was run over one day then because of the rain out. We replaced it in the brake. So, you know, you got to have all that stuff made up. But in terms of the car itself and the hours preparing the car, it's all pretty similar. You just don't want to be that guy to let the team down, you know. When you're racing by yourself, the only person you got to be pissed off with is yourself. Where when you're racing with the team, it's like, if you're the reason you lost because maintenance or your car, you know, stopped going or whatnot, then that's what you don't want.
Sweet. And we got the announcement a couple of weeks ago that we got the Aussies coming over to give it a go.
Are you ready? Team Australia is here. The official Australian Speedway team comprising of the very best drivers selected from any location or Speedway Australia division. We're on the hunt for Australia's fastest, toughest and most hardened Speedway competitors as we take aim at the best the Kiwis have to offer on their home soil. This is your chance to represent Australian Speedway on the world stage, adorning the green and gold at the 2021 New Zealand Stock Car Team Champs in Wellington, February 19 and 20.
We've done a little bit of research on that. I didn't realize they don't have a big stock car presence or anything like that over in Aussie, yet they seem to be reasonably confident, which is good. We like someone talking it up, and we wouldn't expect any less from the Aussies. But there's also some other good competition for the teams champs. So what's your guys' opinion on, first of all, the Aussies coming over and who you think will be your competition at the teams champs this year?
Oh, just another team to beat, really.
I would think that the success of the Poms, the English, whatever they want to be, when they come out here from England, the success, the people that follow that, the live stream when that goes back to England and everything, I think that has built it. So now I think they're just trying to bring the Aussies, say, for this class, and it's just going to bring that interest of overseas and into it, you know. So I think it's probably one of the better initiatives I think that's been put forward for the stock car class and for the teams for a long time. I realise that the numbers this year, with the interest that I have seen come through, we could have some of the biggest numbers in terms of teams that I think we've ever had. But I do think that this is a this is a brainwave, and I understand it's a fair bit of Tim Saville's doing, which is absolutely grouse. You know, I think it's probably unreal. And the biggest problem we're going to have is, mate, as Ethan said to me the other day, he says he watched one of the Aussies do a derby and he pulled off because it hurt. Well, bugger me, mate.
Jeez.
Best he brace himself and maybe go down a mitre 10, because I think they got those in Aussie, and get some cement, because they're going to have to harden up.
Oh, they are going to have to harden up. I mean, we were having a talk about sidechair racing a little bit earlier, talking about how crazy they are. But man, last year was our first experience at a teams champs. We came up to Stratford for the first night. We couldn't believe it, man. Some of that stuff's got to hurt, right? So you did.
The beauty is pain's temporary. It does go away eventually.
You get used to it though. Yeah. Like you actually get used to it.
Yeah.
Like even the mini stocks are almost like a good kind of get used to it sort of thing.
I mean, you just learn to not leave yourself in stupid positions on the track, and then you won't get hit. You know.
It's going to be like almost like a candy store of the Aussies. They're just going to leave themselves open for the big ones. It's going to be beautiful.
It'll be good.
It's a lot to learn in the space of, what are they planning on coming over here a month before or whatnot?
Yep.
You know, like they've got a lot to learn. So it's
the mobile game doesn't quite teach you that much.
Yeah. Well, I was thinking, that technically, as far as the rules goes, they have to do 5 rounds in order to qualify. I was more thinking you're going to need to do those 5 rounds.
Not we need to. You need to
get used to it. So.
Yeah. I think, going back, I think they also, it's a bit like playing your first game of rugby. You go and play your first game of rugby and the next day you're bloody sore. But the more racing you do during the season, or the more games of rugby you play, the better your body feels. But you become what's known as race hardened.
Yep.
New Zealand super stock teams are still just sore no matter what.
Yeah.
Super stock teams are different. You feel those ones.
Yep. But yeah, they'll look. Like I said, it'll be really cool to see it. I'm hopefully from our side, even from the tourism side of it, the borders are open for them.
Yep.
It's probably not looking too good on the Aussie front at the moment. Maybe they can talk up a big game because they know they're not going to be able to get here. Yeah. I don't know.
Hopefully it doesn't. Hopefully it doesn't ruin it, and hopefully we carry on all sensibly over this side of the ditch as well, because we've got to learn a little bit from them. It only takes a couple of bits of silliness, and we could be all back to square one. But let's not focus on the negatives. The Max Motors Wellington Family Speedway, obviously your home track, and how conducive is that to teams racing? Like, there's a bit of banking.
How many years did the young guns go back to back?
We've decided that it's probably the best track in the country, considering we've had it. Well, this time next season will be our 8th time, so must be the best track in the country to have it. They've had it so many times now.
Yep. Has any team won it bloody more than you guys?
The young guns, I think, and I'm prepared to be shot down and into flames or whatever, but I understand the comments that were made that the young guns are the most successful stock car team.
Sweet.
I think the next one might be the Pumas or something, but yeah.
Sweet. Oh well, that's really good. And what about the Wildcats for this season? So for the Superstock Teams champs, Wildcats will be there this year for that.
Yep, that's the plan.
Yep.
I mean, we'll put our names down as you do, and the team will get selected. But yeah, no, we'll definitely be available for that. That's for sure.
So in terms of selection for things like Superstock Teams and Stock Car Teams champs, there is a selection process. Is there more people that apply for that each year than what compete, or do they just keep adding them up as they come in? How does the criteria work?
With the Superstocks last year, we had one extra driver that was going to miss out, but with Dale obviously having a concussion early in the season, that pretty much it was whoever put their name down was in the squad, which was pretty much the.
It was out of Shane and Prentice.
Oh, Josh Prentice, because he got a super stock, yeah. So that was that. And the stock cars, there's a couple more, but we don't actually get a hell of a lot of much more interest in the stock cars.
It's a big step for anybody. You know, at the moment there's a couple of new cars in town, I understand, but it's a big step from racing at Timarua to even just racing for yourself at another away track to actually doing teams at itself. You know, it's like, there's lots of people that think, oh, it's going to buy a car, I'm going to be in a team. But there's a lot more to it. It's definitely a lot different than when you're actually sitting on the track. You know, and look, anybody that takes their hat off and go, you know, and is prepared to get in a superstock and go teams racing, mate, I'd idolise them all day long. You know, I've been there and done that, and had a sleep, done the lot, you know. But look, there's racing a stock car, and then there's teams racing a stock car.
Yep.
Whether it be a super stock or a stock car, and it's a big step. And I think I wouldn't say it's a problem with Timarua, but one of the problems we have at Timarua with our stock car class is probably quite easy. If you go and have a look at those that are competing in the stock car class, you will find that the majority of the ones that are finishing the races, turning up for a lot of the meetings, at the end of the pointy end of the field, are the ones that are in the young guns or in that squad. And the same applies to the super stocks. I suppose the easiest thing with the super stocks is when we first got the Wildcats back together again, we managed to put 5 cars together, and the selection was easy because we only had 5. And, you know, and since then, Josh Prentice has now got a car. I think Shane Davis has come along, he's got a car. I think when we first went, Shane didn't even have a car, but he was our reserve driver. You know, so he was involved.
Grunter and stuff like that.
You know, so now we've got Grant Littlewood that's got a car, and he's quite happy to teams race. So, you know, we need to have a squad of, 6 or 7 cars because of likes of what happened last year. You know, Dale was there, and then, you know, so you've got to expect injuries. Probably the biggest problem with this year is there's only a 2-week break between the New Zealand's or the Superstock teams at Palmerston North and the stock car teams at home. So obviously if someone gets hurt of that, and because we are a nucleus of 4 of the boys,
there's only one driver that changes between the Superstock and the stock car team.
You know, so there's only one difference.
One different driver.
One different driver. Wow.
Yeah, so that was Bryce Jensen and Paul Fairbrother.
They swapped them out.
They swapped them out.
So both the teams the same.
Both
obviously.
weapons, though. So
Yeah.
Obviously, Shane Davis was there, but Dale was. You know, so if you'd actually gone down the path of, so you would have had. So it's literally, as I keep saying, what we need is for Fairbrother and for Bryce to get supers, and then we can all have the same squad.
Yeah. There you go. Easy peasy, right?
Yeah, 16 sponsored cars.
Yeah, oh, Jesus. We already got a name on 3 mods this year. We're just investigating other classes, not investing yet. Tell us a little bit about some of the highs from your experiences with Speedway.
Hey, well, I think for like the likes of the 240s and obviously the GP and Keegan's achievements from the weekend, they're cool. But I think the biggest high for me for this season was actually watching the boys race at the North Islands on a stock cars, and Keegan literally had that one in the bag. And then Ethan wants to go out and block on the last one, and we're Keegan and I'm like, mate, just go out there, run your own race. You're sitting like 2 or 3 on the grid, go for it. You're like about 6th or 7th on points, anything can happen. And he went out there and he wins the last heat, and he comes in and he's tied for second, a 3-way second for with one of his really good mates and a good family friend of ours. And goes out there and then he wins that runoff. And so for the boys to finish 1st and 2nd at the North Islands, I think, and even now I can feel myself sort of, I reckon that was like, that's my highlight of the season. I couldn't think of anything more exciting. Yep. And I think it showed, because then we went and had a few drinks, drove to Hamilton, partied till 4 o'clock in the morning, drove back to where we were staying at Te Amuru, and then I got halfway home and went, I'm done, you're up, Keegs, your turn to learn to drive the bus. So,
never driven that thing before.
Never?
And it's a piece, it's a weapon.
I was going 60 Ks and I was like, surely this is fast enough.
But yeah, for
learned to drive the bus pretty quick. You don't need an HTA unless you get caught. So.
But yeah, that's my highlight of the season. You know, he achieved well, but to have both my boys up there on the podium, absolutely amazing. Yep. For me, you know, like I said, we talked earlier about my driving and stuff. I actually get the same buzz now out of watching them achieve what they can achieve from the sideline as what I actually got from my adrenaline rush when I was racing. So I don't feel like I'm missing out. I'm still getting what I want out of the sport.
Sweet. So is he the nice, supportive dad on the sidelines, or the jumping up and down, or?
Depends if you go to the shed or not.
If we're on the rugby field, I think I can hear him yelling the whole game. So
Sweet.
I can't hear him when I've got.
He's lucky he's got a helmet and a car around him, because he can't hear me. And
I have heard that he still yells at us when we're racing, but we just can't hear him.
I sit down next to people, and if they don't know me, I say, like, excuse me, I'm about to drive a race from here. But the trouble is I've got to drive 2 cars. So, you know, it's like, it's probably, you don't want to sit next to me when the boys are going well, because it's,
Oh, that's all good. And season highlight for you, Ethan?
What do I do? Probably stock car teams.
Yep.
I don't think I did any big minces, so I can't let those into the highlight reel. Probably just teams in general.
Yep.
And the North Islands as well, that was pretty cool.
Yep.
First Speedway New Zealand podium as well. Actually picking up 2 this season with New Zealand's teams, so yeah, just teams.
Yeah, that's a pretty big deal, the teams. And you Keegan?
Probably just the stock car teams. I mean, I've got a few. I don't know, just winning the teams and bringing it back to the club, and obviously just with Dad's reputation of
just the
young guns and all that,
and
the history of it, you know, it's a pretty big thing. But I mean, they're all highlights. The 240s is cool because of the atmosphere. You know, every meeting that Rotorua has, the atmosphere is just, it's crazy. You know, it's just the whole weekend. The whole 240s would be my favourite meeting of the year.
Favourite track as well.
For individuals, because it's one of those meetings where you're like, 240s this weekend, you know, you're getting real excited because you know it's just going to be a real cool meeting. And that's the same as how I feel about the New Zealand's this year, because I'm looking forward to going to Rotorua and doing that, because they always just put on a real cool meeting. But yeah, definitely teams.
Yep.
Hands down.
Yeah, no, the 240s in Rotorua. We haven't managed to make it to Rotorua yet, but everyone says Sonia does a pretty awesome job there, and so definitely a track we'll be looking forward to getting along to and watching a little bit of racing, hopefully in the 2021 season. So look, guys, that's pretty much all the questions I've got. It's been absolutely fantastic having Hutt Park Racing here. So thanks very much, Ethan and Alan and Keegan, for coming along, joining the show, coming on Dishing the Dirt, and all the best for your upcoming season.
Sweet ass, thank you.
Fantastic. No, cool. Anytime.